Hello. In my previous video, I introduced the 3-octave scale in A major. One of the very much overlooked aspects of practicing scales has to do with how the right hand is pulling the bow and producing the sound. I want to bring up 3 things to focus on in terms of a sensation in your hand and wrist and finger and arm while you're playing the open string and double stop open string exercises that I'm about to show you. And I'm actually going to stand back a little bit further so that you can see the various angles that I'm at least trying to do. The 3 things I want you to focus on when you're playing a scale is that, first of all, you have string contact. And the easiest way to describe string contact was told by Ivry Gitlis, who said that every beautiful sound starts with this. That's contact. That's too much contact, right? But having enough contact with the string that you can bend it in either direction slightly if you wanted to, you can feel that easier farther from the bridge. Because when we talk about catch and release, catching the string is exactly that. Having enough pressure in the string that you can literally feel that you're plucking the string up or plucking the string down. That's catching. We're always going to talk about the consonant moments in the notes of the bow arm and the vowel moments. If you think about this articulation of catch and release as something like saying the word pa, and if I were to count to 4, 1, 2, 3, pa, ask yourself what the last 2 things were that you did before you made that sound. It's very important, and it has to do very much with violin playing. You took a breath, right? And you put your lips together. You take a breath, and your hair is your upper lip, your string is your lower lip. You put your lips together. And then you just... You let the sound out. It's given to you. So the actual moment of sound is always a release. It's never a... Yeah? The string is caught and it's released. So in terms of the actions of the right hand from the first videos on that, we use a combination of turning slightly into the index finger and feeling the thumb and the back fingers curl and the thumb bend. And that gives us some leverage. You can do push-ups. You see what I'm doing? I'm pressing the stick into the hair. Okay, that's the first aspect of sound production. The second aspect of sound production is freedom from the shoulder to the elbow to open and close and to raise and lower, that it is not tight, has a feeling of hanging slightly under the wrist. The third is the hinge, that the hand can pull or push and that the fingers and wrists give according to that. Yeah? So you can, to make sure that you have all 3, you can put your bow down in the square position, the middle of the bow. You can apply that pressure like this, and then see, can you open and close your elbow slightly? Can you raise and lower your elbow slightly? Do you feel tight anywhere? Do you have the right arrangement between the instrument and your upper arm? It's very important. If your arms are shorter, the fiddle more in front of you, and back the right arm up extra. Back it up extra if you're not big. Otherwise, if you don't come from that inward position, pushing out to get to the tip will be very difficult. You're going to look for 3 shapes, and you can see these in the chapter on the right hand in the Galamian book. A triangle, a square, and a large triangle, depending on what part of the bow you're at. But it's very two-dimensional. And remember, that your shoulder, even though we don't bow like this, has to be able to move in these 2 directions and this direction freely. If you lock anything in the shoulder, it doesn't work. So at the triangle, my elbow is slightly more in front of my body, okay? At the square, it'll have dropped down slightly. It's roughly a square, right? And at the triangle, I'll push the arm out again. Out. This is out and in. Yeah? So you should feel that your shoulder can drift. We don't do this, but it should feel like at the beginning of a down bow, you can drift a little bit that way. But there's a point at which your arm stops there and where you have to push back out, okay? That's in order for the bow to track straightly. So when you're practicing to get the arm stabilized vertically and horizontally, I've discovered with my students that playing on one string was very difficult for them to get a steady arm. They would be moving all the way like this, the stick back and forth like this, even if they watched the sounding point. And we do have to watch the sounding point. But if we reduce these 4 different planes that we can bow on to the 3 spaces between them, the double stops between E and A, D and between D and G, we'll see a square in front of our eyes where the bow is touching the string. And if you maintain that square and stay parallel, you can really track it to make sure the bow is straight. When you look at your own scroll in a mirror, you want to make sure that as you look at it this way, the scroll is at least as high as your nose and your left shoulder is back and relaxed. The bow will look basically about the same height as the arm. But if you were to turn the same thing this way, you'd see my wrist is slightly higher than my elbow. Okay, when we get to the square, and definitely at the frog. At the very tip, even when I'm pronated, I want to check that I can hang my elbow and that I can move from out to in, out, in, out, in. That this is not locked, right? When you go to the tip, you might feel a stretch in the bicep, and that's okay. You'll get used to it because you want to really push out and in. For now, just in the beginning, to get this feeling of this. So we're feeling for a free hinge this way, contact with the string, and relaxed arm weight. 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Catch. In. 2, 3, 4. Curl your fingers, bend your thumb. Wrist slightly above the elbow. Balance a little bit in the pinky. Bend the thumb. 3, 4. Push. And you want to get really good at controlling any length of that you want. And then after you've done about 8 of those, go to the next string. By doing the double stops, it'll stabilize your playing. Then you'll learn eventually to do individually the individual open strings. But we want to get rid of this, any of that kind of stuff that causes the sound to waver. Because when you do these scales, they have very little value if we don't make sure that we keep the sound even. And it's more important than for that. I mean, if you're playing... Yeah, you have to control the bow. So this is all for a purpose. It's not just... the way some teachers have taught it without having an artistic goal in mind. That's one of the things that I wanted to address in these videos. The other supplement for the 3-octave scale has to do with memory. Okay, so you're going to practice these things because you've got to control when you're on the string. And then you have to add counts. Imagine if you had this. Da, da, da. 4. These are where you have those string crossings in the A major scale. You want to work that out in your head for 2 notes to a bow, 3 notes to a bow, 4 notes to a bow. Because if you hear the sound waver when you're doing that, you're missing all of the right hand benefit of the scale work. And there's tremendous right hand benefit, right? So we want to make sure that we're tracking the sound very carefully in terms of right hand sound production, just as much as we're thinking of the other virtues. I know that's adding a level of concentration and difficulty to it, but I told you, the more virtues that your scale has, the more virtuosic it becomes, right? It's much, much better to think that way. So you take a breath and go. Yeah? It becomes automatic. All right. Practice. And if you like my videos, like and share and subscribe to my page. Thanks so much.